Today, as we've heard read, Mark has treated us once again to words containing a very hard truth. There shall be wars and rumors of wars and earthquakes and famines and rumors of destruction. How very tired I am of these rumors. How worn out I am these days by the dark cloud that seems to descend upon humanity day after day. I find myself asking, when will the time come where the line will be? There shall be great peace and rumors of peace, and the land will be still and fertile, and the crops will grow, and all shall be fed. When do we get to hear that line? When? Like you, I'm tired of the wars. I am tired of the fighting and the school shootings and the terrorist attacks and the news reports that tell me less than the truth as commentators and pundits look for easy targets and simple answers. And all the while, the darkness of fear continues to grow. I sure could use a little good news today. I need a glimmer of hope today. Given the recent events in Paris and Beirut and Pakistan and everywhere you look, we all could use a little good news today. Good thing then that Mark, the author of Mark's Gospel, has a lot of good news, a lot of light and hope for us today. As we heard in the reading, after a day spent talking about loving your neighbor and commending widows who give all that they have, Jesus and the disciples walk away from the temple in Jerusalem. Jesus for the last time. And as they walk out of the temple, the disciples are feeling pretty good about themselves. You see, because Jesus has just delivered a theological slam dunk against the Pharisees, a theological dressing down of the scribes. And so the disciples are feeling very comfy at being on the winning side of that equation. And so as they walk out, one of the disciples looks up at the magnificent temple structure, noticing how tall it is and how grand the gold leaf looks on the pillars and how big and massive those stones are. And the disciple remarks to Jesus just how glorious the building is. It's a moment of great pride for all of the disciples. As they look at it, they're not just seeing a building, they see the history of their people. They see the triumphs of the past. They see the becoming of a nation that God has chosen to be a light to the world. A beacon of what wonderful things can happen when humans work together to build something beautiful, to build something substantial. So that very building has inspired them by its grandeur and its historical significance. And perhaps some of them are even imagining that there will come a time, once Jesus does his Messiah stuff, that they might even get to move in and take it over once and for all. Who knows what people think about it? Jesus, however, does not share their good feelings or their triumphant attitude. In fact, in this reading, Jesus is a little sad. He's sad, and he tells his followers that there will come a time when not one stone of that beautiful building, one stone of that beautiful temple will be left standing upon another. That the time is coming, and soon, that this glorious building will be a field of great big rocks, and nothing more than that. And then leading his disciples to the park across the street, the ones the locals call the Mount of Olives, Jesus tries to explain in ways that the disciples could understand that some things must happen. Hard things must happen if something new and better and more life-giving is going to be created or given life. So then we hear how the disciples ask the very question that we all are asking, not just in the nature of this gospel reading, but when we look around at the world. And our question is, when? When will this wonderful new thing happen? When? When will this happen, and what signs should we watch for that will tell us that all of this is about to be accomplished? So to this, Jesus answers in his typical Jesus way. He continues to teach. He tells them to be careful that no one leads them astray by making them think of these wars and rumors of wars as anything but the beginning of something new, a new way of being in this world, a better way of being in this world. So the overarching theme of this passage and the one from 1 Samuel is this. It's that God is a promise-making and promise-keeping God. In a world often torn by violence and war and depression, God's promises still hold true, yet can become ever more difficult to believe and to trust. Because there's always temptation to give in to the powers that be. It's always tempting because they promise safety at no expense of our energy. They offer that, and they offer quick fixes. They offer an over-reliance on law or an over-reliance on military power. But true peace, God's shalom, will never be realized by following the powers of the world with their quick fixes and their easy answers. Instead, we as people of faith are invited to trust the promises of God, as shown so clearly in Jesus Christ. That there is a direction and purpose to God's creation, and God is working through us and around us in order to fulfill the promise of abundant life for every single human on the planet. That's a divine promise. Now, there is no denying that our world is going through an extremely difficult time. The rumors of war have become a reality. And terror attacks perpetrated by extremists of all persuasions, extremists who hold human life in such low regard that they kill and destroy indiscriminately. Well, that story we're in danger of having that story become our world's new normal. We're not as shocked by these stories as I think we should be. We're becoming used to these stories. And it would be very tempting to listen to the powers that seem to offer simple explanation for complex problems and find scapegoats to blame. It's tempting to believe that. It would be very easy to look to our own institutions and admire the big stones and the beautiful architecture and put our trust in them, even if those institutions are no longer worthy of our trust. Or, I think as is often the case, no longer capable of changing the situation. And it would be easy to give in to our fear, even though Jesus has told us a million times that we have no reason to fear. But it's hard not to be afraid when the well-known ways of the world and these trusted institutions are seemingly crumbling all around us. It's hard not to suddenly become afraid of one another, afraid of other humans who share our planet. It's hard to know where to place our trust. It's hard to know where to place our hearts. It's hard to know what it is we should be doing when the ground beneath our feet no longer feels solid. I think this is exactly how those first disciples must have felt when they had Rome and the temple's destruction looming over them. I think they felt exactly like that. Yet Jesus' words to them and to us have the power to calm and to clarify. What Jesus was saying was where we place our trust matters. It matters a lot. If we place our trust solely in human-made institutions or solely in television commentators and pundits, then we are placing our trust in the wrong place. We are to place our trust in God. to trust that God is at work in the world and a new thing is emerging, and that we are part of this emergence. This is what Jesus was all about. This is what he taught, lived, and died for. This is what resurrection means. We have, because of our faith and the times in which we live, the marvelous opportunity and privilege to help give shape to the new world that is emerging. Now, all we need to do is ask ourselves this: what kind of world do we want? So if we're satisfied with the way the world is, then we need to do nothing except maybe to build bigger walls, right? Yet if we even have an inkling that we would like to live in a world where peace and the rumors of peace replace the line wars and rumors of wars, then something quite simple is also demanded of us. We need to live and act in ways that bring peace, bring reconciliation, bring compassion, encourage a sense of welcome. Instead of looking at those who share our world and counting the differences, perhaps looking for and trusting in that which unifies us would be a really good first step. And this isn't something that an institution can do for us. This isn't something that the government can do for us. It isn't something that an NGO can do for us. It's the kind of heart-changing work that we need to do for ourselves. When our hearts become more open, more loving, and more accepting, the truth is, the world that is emerging will too. May it be so in your life and in mine. Amen.